So I'm sure you've heard of this before. We reap what we sow. So effectively, I'm just going to give an example of farming because I like to farm, and then we'll go through some stocks and some other life decisions. But effectively, if I go and buy let's say it's a semi-dwarf tree, and it's an apple tree, it might cost me $50. I'm going to care for it. It's going to rain, basically get some fertilizer. It's going to take maybe like 4 to 7 years to really get into production, and I'm going to get probably about 250 pounds per year of apples from that point on for the next, maybe 25 plus years. If I had to go buy those apples at a grocery store, say it's Honeycrisp, it's going to cost me about $500 per year. So that's going to save my family about $500 per year in food savings. Well, that's a pretty good return on investment because that's $50 now starting to make me $500 in savings every single year. And if I sold it, you probably have to sell it for about a quarter of what that is. So maybe I can make $125 a year off of a tree. So that's the economics of a tree. If I took that and I planted 20 trees, say I had apples, pears, cherries, peaches, plums, apricots, aprons. By the way, I have bubblegum flavored plums, I have cotton candy flavored aprons, and there's also cotton candy flavored grapes. I suggest you try out the cotton candy grapes, they're delicious. So I plant a whole bunch of different varieties of fruit, so I get stuff in, say, starting in June, like the cherries, and through fall, say the apples. I plant them, say they're $50 each, so I put $1,000 in. In about 4 to 7 years, I start getting about 5,000 pounds of food per year. And if I had to buy that in the grocery store, it's basically saving me about $10,000 per year in food savings. If I sold it, I could probably make somewhere around $2,500 per year extra for that $1,000 investment. So if we were talking about what my family saves and what we can eat, well, I'm actually getting about a 10 times return in less than 7 years. And by the way, the food tastes much better when you pick it in your own garden. Now, what are other life decisions that we reap what we sow? So reap means we harvest, sow means what we plant, or we get the repercussions of whatever decisions we make. Say I take the same $1,000, I put it in the US stock market, say like the S&P 500, that could be SPY, VOO, things like that. That's returned about 10.5%. If I left it there for 7 years, it doubles in that 7-year period, at least looking back through the past 30 years of data on average. Investments can lose value, they all have risk, and past performance does not guarantee future performance. But anyway, that $1,000, if it was invested 7 years ago, would be approximately $2,000 today. So that's at least a 2x return in 7 years, whereas the fruit trees give me about a 10x return. So that's part of the reason why I planted 20 plus trees on the property, as well as like grapes and some other things that I like to eat. Now let's say another instance would be, what if I put $150 away for a month, each and every month, and I did that for 40 years, same rate of return. That would end up to about $1.1 million, but the buying power, the value in future money, it would be the equivalent of something about $500,000 today. But that's still pretty good. Let's say someone makes a different decision, and what they sow is debt. And it's not good debt, it's bad debt. It's high interest, credit card balances, and people are maintaining credit card balances of about $8,000 on average, so it's not unrealistic to think someone could have a $10,000 balance. If somebody kept a $10,000 balance for 40 years and keeps paying on it, and they just keep bringing that balance back up each time they buy stuff. So if that card's at 25%, which is, 22 to 25% is pretty common nowadays, that's going to look like $2,500 a year that you're paying out to interest in that instance, which over a 40-year period is over $100,000 that that person would have paid in interest for something they already bought. Instead of going into debt for things that I don't necessarily need, I would prefer to go without some of those things. Now, if it's food, we used to go to food banks. We also grew a lot of food, and we would feed ourselves in those ways. But, buying new clothes and things like that, we can get hand-me-downs, and a lot of the toys I had were hand-me-downs and clothes and things like that. Well, thank you for watching. I go over a lot of financial topics. If you've enjoyed this, please subscribe and have a great day.